The personality types fascinate me, and how they interact with each other. And
Personality types are, it is a fascinating field. It is a very fascinating field.
then when you take these
It's,
tests, you need to also kind of self-reflect to make sure that you answer the questions honestly.
yeah, we tend to do that.
Otherwise, this is what I would like to do, but no, this is actually what I do. So you should answer it the way you would actually react to certain things.
Yeah. Yeah, we do tend to tailor that. I mean, you find all sorts of, like, let's call it, personality tests online. I mean, you get these tests of what type of superhero are you? You know. Now,
What's your spirit animal?
yeah. So if I want to be, let's choose a superhero that's nice. Yeah, I want to be Batman. Okay, he's got cool gadgets and lots of money, and you know. But if I just answer the questions, how do I know I'm going to be Batman at the end? If I tailor my answers, so I really reflect on each question,
Mm.
and I tailor my answer so it can come out at the bottom. So now you can do the same test with whether I'm hot or not, and it will come out the same thing again. Um, the thing with personality tests is that you've got to be honest. You have to be honest, and there needs to be a time limit to it. So I'm not saying you have to rush through the questions. You don't want to sit with every single question and go, okay, how should I answer that? It is the first thing that comes into your mind that you answer. When a personality assessment gets done on a person itself, then obviously all sorts of other questions get asked from an external person, from a counselor or whatever. Ask all sorts of um, questions. But the personality assessments, I think, is one of those things that we sorely neglect, because we don't really look at things like that. I think last time we spoke about, we also mentioned, who am I, where am I, what's my purpose, that type of thing. And you start looking for all sorts of things out there that can join in with that.
Mm.
We tend to not look at the self deep enough. Um, you're looking for external things. You're not looking at the self.
Okay, well, then I'm going to ask the question that I was about to write
Mm.
down. How does external factors um, affect your personality type? What I'm asking is, in the beginning of the year, I did a personality type test, and it came out as I'm an advocate. And 2 months later, after my external situations changed, it came out as a commander. How
Yes.
does that affect your personality type?
Okay. You did one of those personality tests that. Okay. If you want to do a personality test, the true one is the Big Five. Then you're going to get a correct assessment. These other tests, what they do is they look at your specific state of mind at that specific stage. What happened in your life and what is your state of mind? That will reflect. Like you said, what happened, what you experienced, you did it at that frame, you got one specific thing.
Mm.
Okay? Because you went through something hard and bad. So what happens after that? You either fall or you get up. So now when you get up, what do?
You change.
There you go. That's where that comes in. You you change for the better, and you adapt more things into your life. Sure,
Mm.
it is that case of, I'm not going to go back there, like we said with the kids earlier on, where the
Yes.
child goes, I don't want to experience that again. you now put those things in place to say, that's not going to happen again.
No.
That's not going to happen again. So, yeah, no, that does play a huge role. It plays a huge role. Anything else that's interesting?
It's just a thing that I constantly think about, because it's something I personally feel strong about, is parents that when their child acts out to something that they didn't want to hear or they didn't want to do, or they wanted something and the answer was no and they don't know how to deal with that. And then the parents try to reason with the child while they're in that state of.
Well, obviously, I'm going to fucking throw a tantrum because I don't have any reasoning skills. I've got zero reasoning skills. So you're telling me I can't have it? I can't exactly put up an argument why I need to have it. So I'm just going, okay, what's the first emotion that pops up?
Freaking out,
freak
acting
out,
out.
get angry, cry. That's what. That's what, look. Like I say, I think if parents starts looking more, actually realizing that the child doesn't have any reasoning skill. It's like, okay, I go to my 3, 4 year old child, walk into the room and it's a bloody mess, toys all over the place. I'm going, my God, okay, your mom cleaned this room yesterday. Clean your room, and you turn around and you walk away. What's happening? What did that child get?
A scolding. And
You
that's
got room.
about it.
You got about room. That's about it. Room, I'm in it. Clean, come again.
I don't know how.
Okay. So this is how we set up our lives. So then you walk into the room and you go, take that toy, put it in that box. Like this blanket, fold it up like this, put it over there. And that fold, so you go on. So what you're actually teaching the child is not to clean their room. Because if I need to clean my room, what does that exactly mean? I'm sitting there and I need to clean my room. I'm 5 years old. What the hell do I need to know about cleaning? Nothing. I know I'm in my room. Okay. So you teach them what we would essentially call micro routines. So every little action is a micro routine that you're teaching that child. Take all those little micro routines and throw them together. What have you got? A habit. You just formed a habit. Now, if you take all those habits, what do? You form personality. Now you've got to decide which habits are good and which habits are bad. And you want to maximize good over bad.
Mm.
That's essentially as simple as it gets. So, like I said, like the child, it's a room. It's clean the room. It means nothing to the child. You've got to have those little micro routines. And as you grow up, there's an old saying that goes, "I'm a bigger bag of tricks." That's what you are. It's all those little micro routines. You're just throwing them in the bag the whole time. Everyone is an action that you did, an action that you learned. That needs to go there. All small little actions. Throw them together, micro routines. Throw those micro routines together.
Habit. Throw the habits
Habit.
together. Personality.
There you go. And you're just a big bag of tricks at the end of the day. It's all those micro routines thrown in that bag. And that bag just gets bigger as you get older.
Mm.
And there's your bag of tricks. This is who I am. Essentially, if you want to look at it from a...
There's something else that I wanted to talk about, but I think I'm going to step on a lot of people's toes.
Okay.
And that is
Toe stepping is not...
kind of what we want to do.
Depends, eh?
Parents that have this view of, I'm older, I am wiser, I know best, Most of the time, yes. But using that against their children to get their point of view across, even when they're wrong at times.
You do have that, what is that saying? I'm the mommy, therefore my rules grow, or something to that effect. There's some sense of a saying that goes along with that.
Or the thing of you're under my roof, you follow my rules. To an extent, yes, because I, as the older, more wiser, more experienced person, I know what would be best for you. But in certain aspects, it
Again, do you
doesn't.
really? Do you really?
Yeah.
Do you really know what's best for that child? We'd like to think that. It's my child. Of course I know what's best for it. Do you really? When last did you actually sit down with that 5-year-old or that 6-year-old or that 10-year-old and spoke to that child? Because we don't do that either. Other people
Yes.
speak to our children. We don't. We speak to our children when we need to have them do something, when they've done something wrong, or we need something. The rest of the time, go play. You don't actually speak to the child. I think that's where the trust system gets built up. Because if I don't feel if I as a young child starts growing up and I feel more comfortable speaking to my friends, but I don't actually really speak to my parents. I interact with them, but I don't speak to them. So I don't feel comfortable when something bad happens, for instance, speaking to my parents, speaking to my mom or speaking to my dad and saying, listen, I need your help here. People who's brought up in a household where it is more open expression, where there is more tolerance, because you need that as well. You need that tolerance factor, because I can sit here and I can come up with a problem that I need to solve, but you know, I speak to my parents about that, they're going to just look at me and go, no, no, withdraw, no, no, you don't want anything to do with that. Go away from that. Oh, but this is my best friend. I need to stand by this person. I want to help this person. And your parents don't see that perspective at all. They see their own perspective. Because I'm wiser. I've been here longer. Let me tell you how it's supposed to be. I'm going to teach you now. But now you're reasoning with the child. Child can't reason. It only falls back to that first principle all over again, all over again. Just keeps on knocking back. I'm not saying all children are like that. You do have a lot of exceptions to the rule. There is some people who are, and that's the beauty about human nature. I mean, we can say that this is the way that a human being grows up. A male grows up. This is the a female grows up. These are the stages essentially of physical development and mental development. But not everybody follows that rule, especially when it comes to mental development. It's a nature nurture principle, which is a very big fight up to this point. Or what does what? You've got to look at external factors, because what you're doing is you only look at nature nurture. Okay, what does that tell me? You're either influenced by nature or nurture, but that doesn't tell me anything more than that. What is your interactions? Who do you speak? Who do you speak to, and what do you speak about? You know, that also comes into play. So the moment you start going deeper into that, I think the nature nurture principle starts getting a little wobbly. It doesn't always apply. That's only my opinion on the matter. So
Our perception of the matter.
our perception of the matter, yes, yes. So it's there is most probably a lot of people that will disagree with it, but at the end of the day, that's also good. You need, because if you don't have disagreement, you don't have, people don't talk.
Yeah.
But what we have is, like what we're doing now, is you're debating, you're talking. When we bring up something like that, immediately we're living in a society where we go, okay, I need to defend myself. I need to fight that principle. Why don't you just talk about it? Why do you need to fight about it? Why do you need to get angry about it? Why do you need to get sad about it? Why don't we just talk about it?
Yeah.
You know?
Neutral.
Keep neutral. Let's talk about it, and you'll find that you actually do a lot more problem solving in a much, much easier way than what you've done with anything else. So yeah, I think that becomes very important. The nature nurture thing is, I think, is going to get encapsulated with a lot that we're going to say, that we're going to talk about, because I really do have an issue with that, because I think from about the 1930s there's so many experiments that has been done. A lot of them not quite right. But that's also something I think we are going to speak about. You know, some of the experiments that's been done, and when we bring this subject matter up, what we're talking about at the moment, we wouldn't have that data if those things didn't happen. They were wrong. A lot of those things were very, very wrong. But we got insights into the human mind and human condition that we were only guessing about. We were forming hypotheses. So this is more or less how it should be. But when they did the experiment, you go, okay, it didn't quite turn out that way. Some of it was right, but not all of it. You know? Okay, so this is what actually happens. So we are, I think we're still very much in a learning stage. You know, there was a stage where when I grew up in the 70s, and you did not have access to information. Access to information was at school and in the libraries. That's it. If you didn't pay attention in school and you didn't go to libraries, you grew up with whoever was in your life. So your peers, your parents. That formed your your viewpoint, your perception of how you see and interact with the world. But as the decades have changed now, and when we're getting to where we are right now, it is so vastly different. The Just the simple perception of young children growing up in our world today, as opposed to back then, it is vastly, it is so different. Positive and negative points about that, I think, can be discussed at length. That is because there's a lot of people that said, you know what, our generation, my generation, grew up better, stronger than the generation of now. Again, define stronger. What do you mean by that? People, you see what I mean? Is people tend to, when you ask a question like that, you go, okay, this era grew up stronger than that era. Okay, fair enough. Define stronger. Now, the person on the other end would go, you know what? It's just the way it is. It's this and this and this and this. Now you start getting, your voice goes up. You know, now you're starting to go, hey, we're not fighting.
We're just talking.
We're just talking.
Debating.
You're not defending a position. You're arguing a position. And when I'm saying you're arguing a position, it's not what we perceive today as what arguing is. Because if we're looking at you're arguing a point, that means you're fighting.
Yes.
No. Debating a point and arguing a point comes down to the same principle, I mean, essentially. The only principal difference between the two is when you're arguing a point, you might be taking that point a little further. It doesn't mean any negative thing around it whatsoever. So we've incorporated that word into our dictionary as a negative aspect. We've actually done that with a lot of other words, by the way, as well. You know, things that had a simple, clean, innocent meaning that we've over the years just slightly turned around to mean something else. You can look at it in terms of symbology. If you look at symbols and icons we see today and that we know those through I'm not going to go way back into history, but if you look at just history from, let's say, from the mid-late 30s onwards, world, global history, and you look at the rise and fall of certain things, you can see that happening. So I think we both got to make a slight little apology. You see me doing this the whole time. It is on the premises of winter over here, so we're both a little sick, so please excuse us.
We have an announcement. This is the last CDLR podcast episode. This may be the last episode under the CDLR name, but it's not goodbye, just a new chapter. We are excited to introduce